Books on Tape presents The Queen of the Big Time by Adriana Trigiani, read by Cassandra Campbell. Part 1, 1924 to 1927. Chapter 1. Today is the day my teacher, Miss Stoddard, comes to see my parents. She sent them a letter telling them she wanted to come to our house to discuss the further education of Nella Castellucas. The letter is official. It was written on a typewriter, signed by my teacher with a fountain pen, dated October 1st, 1924. And at the top there's a gold stamp that says, Pennsylvania Education Authority. We never get fancy mail on the farm, only handwritten letters from our relatives in Italy. Mama is saving the envelope from Miss Stoddard for me in a box where she keeps important papers. Sometimes I ask her to show it to me, and every time I read it, I am thrilled all over again. I hope my parents decide to let me go to school in Roseto. Delabole School only goes to the 7th grade, and I've repeated it twice, just so I can keep learning. Miss Stoddard is going to tell my parents that I should be given the opportunity to go to high school in town, because I have great potential. I am the third daughter of 5 girls, and I have never been singled out for anything. Finally, it feels like it's my turn. It's as though I'm in the middle of a wonderful contest. The music has stopped, the blindfolded girl has pointed to me, and I've won the cakewalk. I've hardly slept a wink since the letter arrived. I can't. My whole world will change if my parents let me go to school. My older sisters, Assunta and Elena, stopped going to school after the 7th grade. Neither wanted to continue, and there is so much work on the farm, it wasn't even discussed. I was helping Mama clean the house to prepare for our company, but she made me go outside because I was making her nervous. She's nervous? I don't know if I will make it until 2 o'clock. As I lean against the trunk of the old elm at the end of our lane and look up, the late afternoon sunlight comes through the leaves in little bursts like a star shower, so bright I have to squint so my eyes won't hurt. Over the hill, our farmhouse, freshly painted pale gray, seems to dance above the ground like a cloud. Even the water in the creek that runs past my feet seems full of possibility. The old stones that glisten under the water look like silver dollars. How I wish they were. I would scoop them up, fill my pockets, and bring them to Mama, so she could buy whatever she wanted. When I think of her, and I do lots during the day, I remember all the things she doesn't have, and then I try to think up ways to give her what she needs. She deserves pretty dishes and soft rugs and glittering rings. She makes do with enamel plates, painted floorboards, and the locket Papa gave her when they were engaged. Papa smiles when I tell him about my dreams for Mama, and sometimes I think he wishes he could give her nice things too. But we're just farmers. If only I could get an education, then I could get a good job and give Mama the world. Papa says I get my brains from her. She is a quick study. In fact, she taught herself to read and write English. Mama spends most nights after dinner teaching Papa to read English. And when he can't say the words properly, Mama laughs, and then Papa curses in Italian, and she laughs harder. I feel guilty being so happy, because usually this is a sad time of year, as the green hills of Delabole turn toffee-colored, which means that soon winter will come, and we will have the hog killing. Papa says that if we want to eat, we must help. All the chores around the killing used to bother me. Now I don't cry much. I just stay busy. I help stretch the cloth tarps where the innards lay in the smokehouse before they're made into sausage, and line the wooden barrels where the scraps go. I have taught my sisters how to separate the innards and rinse them in the cool stream of the springhouse. There's always plenty of help. Papa invites all his friends from Roseto, and we make a party of it. The dinner at the end of the day is the best part, when the women make tenderloin on the open pit, and Papa's friends tell stories of Italy. It helps to laugh, because then you don't think about the dying part so much. Nella? Mama calls out from the porch. Over here, I holler back. Come inside. She motions me over and goes back into the house. I carefully place my bookmark in the middle of Jane Eyre, which I am reading for the 3rd time, and pick up the rest of my books and run to the house. It doesn't look so shabby since the paint job, and the ground around it is much better in autumn, more smooth, after the goat has eaten his fill of the grass. Our farm will never be as beautiful as the houses and gardens in town. Anything that's pretty on the farm is wild. The fields covered in bright yellow dandelions, low thickets of tiny red beech roses by the road, and stalks of black-eyed Susans by the barn are all accidents. Roseto is only 3 miles away, but it might as well be across an ocean. When the trolley isn't running, we have to walk to get there, mostly through fields and on back roads, but the hike is worth it. The trolley costs a nickel, so it's expensive for all of us to ride into town. Sometimes Papa takes out the carriage and hitches our horse, Moxie, to take us in, but I hate that. In town, people have cars, and we look silly with the old carriage. Papa knows I like to go to town just to look at the houses. Roseto is built on a hill, and the houses are so close together, they are almost connected. When you look down the main street, Garibaldi Avenue, the homes look like a stack of candy boxes with their neat red brick, white clapboard, and gray fieldstone exteriors. Each home has a small front yard, smooth green squares of grass trimmed by low hedges. There are no bumps and no shards of shale sticking up anywhere. Orange, yellow, and purple bachelor buttons grow along the walkways in rows. On the farm, the land has pits and holes and the grass grows in tufts. Every detail in Roseto's landscape seems enchanted, from the fig trees with their spindly branches to the open wood arbors covered with white blossoms in the spring, which become fragrant grapes by summer. Even the story of how Roseto became a town is like a fairy tale. We make Papa tell the story because he remembers when the town was just a camp with a group of Italian men who came over to find work in the quarries. The men were rejected in New York and New Jersey because they were pugliese and had funny accents that Italians in those places could not understand. One of Papa's friends saw an ad in a newspaper looking for quarry workers in Pennsylvania. So they pooled what little money they had and took the train to Bangor, about 90 miles from New York City, to apply for work. At first, there was resistance to hiring the Italians. But when the quarry owners saw how hard the immigrants worked, they made it clear that more jobs were available. This is how our people came to live here. As the first group became established, they sent for more men, and those men brought their families. The Italians settled in an area outside Bangor called Howelltown, and eventually another piece of land close by was designated for the Italians. They named it Roseto, after the town they came from. In Italian it means hillside covered with roses. Papa tells us that when the families built their homes here, they positioned them exactly as they had been in Italy. So if you were my neighbor in Roseto Valfortere, you became my neighbor in the new Roseto. Papa's family were farmers, so the first thing he did when he saved enough money working in the quarry was to lease land outside Roseto and build his farm. The cheapest land was in Delabole, close enough to town and yet too far for me. Papa still works in the quarry for extra money sometimes, but mainly his living comes from the 3 cows, 10 chickens, and 12 hogs we have on the farm. Mama made everything look nice, Elena tells me as she sweeps the porch. She is 16, only 2 years older than me, but she has always seemed more mature. Elena is Mama's helper. She takes care of our 2 younger sisters and helps with the household chores. She is thin and pretty, with pale skin and dark brown eyes, Her black hair falls in waves.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?